Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, and as you can see by the footage, you're gonna be watching at least for the first 30 minutes some Marvel vs. Capcom. This is a game that did not get a lot of flair and excitement from the community. It wasn't one of their bests. I will say this. My favorite Marvel vs. Capcom is the original. It's still an amazing game, but you can't really take, I like them all, to be honest with you. But this is the footage you're going to get today. But listen, folks, there's been a lot of big Xbox news to pop out in the next couple of days. And we're going to start off with some Starfield news again, because you know what? The game that no one really knows is what is going to be outside of it being an RPG epic from God Howard. We got some bad news about it coming out in 2021, folks. We almost got to confirm that it will be releasing in 2022, but we'll get into that because Joe is going to lead that story. And speaking of Joe, we're going to get to your intro first, brother. First of all, I got to tell you, man, the work that you guys are doing, I'm talking about you and your best friend Kyle at the Trophy Room, have to be applauded. Because not only did you recently have Greg Miller on, not only did he get his way on to Kind of Funny, but you guys have a ton of stuff lined up. You're gaining ground in the community. Everyone loves you. It's the #1 PlayStation podcast, at least in my personal opinion. Joe, how the hell are you?
Dude, I'm riding on cloud nine, man. It's been a really good couple of weeks. Hopefully we get some really cool news to share in the next week or two as well. Big things are happening here. I'm really excited to see the podcast growing. Right now on Apple Podcasts, we're having a giveaway for Ratchet & Clank PS5, but since this is an Xbox show, and if you're an Xbox fan, we'll also give you Game Pass or an equivalent to if you rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And let me tell you something. We're trying to get to 200 reviews. We got like over 20 in less than a week.
Wow.
We're almost about to crush that goal. And everybody, like the nicest things in the world. It's like if I'm paying them to say it. It's so nice. It's so like humbling. It really just means so much because like we're not a YouTube centric show, so we don't get those super chats or like all the love coming in real time. So like to see that, man, like to just see like, oh, you got me through my workday is just like the coolest thing ever, man. Like that, it's just the best feeling in the world. So I'm doing fantastic. I'm really happy to be here. Before we got on the show too, we talked about how it's only been a week, but it feels like forever.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about like Starfield and all this stuff for sure.
Yeah, well, again, it's great to have you a part of the show. Got to shout out our brother Kay Asante, Mojo Blues, Smitty Smith, Daniel Hayes, Casket Repair. Let's see who else is in here since the beginning of the show. Anthony Chipmunk, #1, Boogeyman, Wild Bates. Who else we got here? Outbreak Podcast. Well, welcome Alan Ultimate, Gary Duddles here. They Can't Stop Me, TY, and Jonathan Peterson, as well as Two Man 55. I want to thank you folks for being here, not only early, but often. And of course, let's continue with the introductions. And obviously, we can now say the Boxer Bear is COVID-19 free. Archimedes, how the hell are you, brother?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm getting better every day. I'm getting my juice back. I can feel it. I'm doing light exercises now, and I'm back in the community again, active, playing games, being on Twitter, making videos. So I'm feeling good, and I'm super excited for today's show. We have some interesting topics to talk about, and yeah, I can't wait to discuss everything with you guys.
I appreciate you being here, brother. And of course, more than anything, it's great to hear that you are, feeling better and that you're starting to, get your sea legs back, so to speak. And yeah, who was it that asked you? Unknown Soldier is Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Yeah, that's what this is. Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I absolutely loved it, but still, too, my favorite of all of the Marvel vs. Capcoms for sure. But let's continue with the introductions. Next, our literary professional, linguist, if you will, VJ brother, welcome back, brother. Well, everyone is waiting for you to drop some serious knowledge on these topics when we get into them, brother. Welcome.
Thank you, Boom. Thanks for having me back on. Sorry I wasn't on last week, and I'll just concur with our comedies that, today's topics and panel should provide for an entertaining show.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun, and obviously we're going to start off with some bad news, but bad news really not really, but not really. No one wants a rushed Todd Howard new IP, right? And as great as my original thought process was to get the triple header in September, October, November for Forza Horizon 5, Starfield, and Halo. Listen, there's going to be so many games. I am willing to take the L on the Starfield and let it come out when it's ready to come out. That's just, again, it is what it is. But Joe is going to break that down for us. But last and no way least, someone that has more talent in his thumbnail than I do in my entire body. 3-Bit, welcome to the program, brother. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's good to see everybody on the panel again. It like Mr. Badboot was saying, it doesn't feel like a week. It feels like I don't know. Time is going by pretty slow for me.
Quickly, yeah.
For me, it feels slow. Maybe I'm working, but but it's good to be on the panel with everybody. Marvel vs. Capcom. This looks awesome.
Yeah,
I gotta actually play this game.
It's really fantastic. Again, I love the fighting series. Again, the this one and the one after it wasn't well received as well. This one did well in sales. It just wasn't as
this is the third one, right?
Yeah, this is the third one. It wasn't as revered as Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which still reigns supreme, and that's because they went from a traditional hand-drawn flat characters to the 3D characters. And again, I could take either or, but I prefer MC2. Again, it's I'll say it again for the second time. It's one of my favorite fighting games of all time. I'm hoping that they do bring us another one at some point, and they maybe go back to the hand-drawn art. I kind of dig that old school way of fighting games. We're not really getting a lot of that. Even Guilty Gear is kind of starting to change a little bit, and that was one of the PlayStation 1's gems that a lot of people passed on because it wasn't Final Fight, it wasn't Fatal Fury, it wasn't Street Fighter or Samurai Showdown. It was made by, at the time, System Arcs that no one was like, who the hell is this person? But they are incredible developers, and I'm looking forward to the new one coming out. I believe it's exclusively for the PlayStation coming out. I'm pretty sure the next Guilty Gear is, which wouldn't surprise me. But I want to thank everybody for being here. And of course, as we already got 200 people here. I'm only 8 minutes into the show. That's pretty dope. I want to thank you if you're here. Shout out Caitlin, who just got here. Caitlin, how you doing, darling? Hopefully you and hubby are doing well. And we're looking forward to this Friday, which is, of course, tomorrow, to see what you guys bring to the table on the evening Xbox Ultimate podcast. 3-Bit, you're a part of that. And that is, man, you guys got some crew over there. But let's break down the bad news and get to the fun stuff.
Sure.
You talked about this when we were pregame. I was cleaning all day, folks. I do all the housework for Mrs. Boom because she's still working, and literally it's the least I can do. So I missed out on this. Joe, confirmation that Starfield is 2022?
Yeah, I feel like there's some active work of trying to level expectations here of what we are going to expect from Xbox's E3 or Summer Games Fest showing. So this comes from a tweet from yesterday. I follow this story along, folks, as we're in, or a couple days ago. We're in for a doozy here. Luke Stevens says apparently Starfield is pretty much done since September of last year. Bethesda Game Softworks has spent the last year polishing it and refining it for the next gen port. I'm told they're trying to make up for 76 and deliver a game that's polished to perfection coming this year. Watch. Then Jason Schreier just today goes, rumors like this keep floating around, but Starfield is nowhere near done. According to several people familiar with development, it will be at E3, but the planned release date I've heard is way later than most people expect. Sharing this so that folks keep their expectations in check. And then Jeff Grubb follows with, I think it's about a year off. If they put a date on it at E3, it'll be just 2022. So that is what we know. And if I could say, that is why we don't trust streamers to put out news about anything. I think we got to go with these people that actually have the sources that have been proven right multiple times. This definitely feels like a good, hey, listen, we've kind of hyped you guys for a bit here, but let's kind of just start scaling some things back, some expectations that we want to see. And I think this is a great move because if what's Xbox's biggest flaw, what we always say, they always get ready for a home run and then they show something off and it's maybe is like a foul ball sometimes.
Yeah.
Speaking of like the indie showcase. So like seeing this is a good early barometer of like, we're really excited because Xbox bought a lot of things, but let's also just take a step back and say, you know what? Just because they bought these things doesn't mean these things are ready right now. Just like with, what am I thinking of? Senua's Sacrifice, right?
Yes.
That game just found its director, and sources say that game is not coming out anytime soon. So we're excited because we see these devs, but I feel like it's a little bit like we want some instant gratification. So just hang back. These things are coming. It's just not immediate.
It's funny. On the heels of that, there was a story that was broken. I believe it was by the Video Game Chronicles regarding something that Matt Booty actually, who has usually not in the news, right? You don't really hear Matt Booty. He says one of their major IPs suffered tremendously due to COVID. And Joe, I wouldn't be surprised if Senua Saga is one of them, because like many of the PlayStation, over the shoulder games that we all know and love, those are very heavily mocapped. And
I mean, even that, some teams are just not used to working
from home. Yes.
Yeah, like From Software, a great one I just heard, it's just like they have struggled severely with development of Elden Ring because this company has never had these type of the way they're structured, they've never had to deal with anything like this in such a capacity. So yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah, and again, folks, is it upsetting? Sure. Do we all want to play Starfield? Absolutely. I think the one piece of information, Joe, that comes out of this, that came out before this, and we keep saying delay. It was never announced for this year. We just assumed it was going to be this year, right? So it's not technically a delay. The same way, some other games that big profile games that you like, oh, but that was supposed to come out this year, but they never really said it. So again, is it disappointing? Sure. Archimedes, let me ask your opinion on this. This news kind of was, it was put down by some heavy hitters. Look, my feelings of Jason Schreier are no secret. I'm
right there with you.
I'm not being disrespectful. He's an industry person. Obviously, I want to keep it professional. I called him a pompous ass for something he said that was absolutely disrespectful to somebody, and he blocked me. Fine, no problem. I still believe he's a pompous ass, and he's never going to change my opinion. But he is someone with tremendous sources. He does have his sources, and of course, Jeff Grubb, who was on Primetime Gaming a couple of weeks ago. I mean, we all love Jeffrey Grubb, right? So, and I trust him more than you can imagine. So when you get these heavy hitters come out there and tell you this, I think it moves from grain of salt to almost confirmation, at least in my opinion. Do you think that it's the right move, Archimedes, to delay this game until it's absolutely perfect?
If the game isn't ready, it is definitely the right move. I'm always pro delaying a game. The funny thing for me is we shouldn't call it a delay. A game that hasn't been officially announced and doesn't have a release date is not delayed if they come out at E3 and say it's 2022. We never know what the original plan was. The thing about these rumors, and doesn't matter where they come from, is for me right now, we have too many of them. We have too many rumors out there. And this is what I have been saying, if you remember, for like 6 to 12 months now, that Xbox's biggest problem is that they don't lay out their roadmap properly. We are all relying on speculations, rumors, and for most of the rumors, we just don't even know where they come from anymore, because it's all speculation town. And Microsoft is letting really the rumors and the fanboys run the narratives. And people were expecting Starfield now this year. If they announce it for 2022, which is totally fine by me, if the game isn't ready for release this year. But the thing is, there will be a lot of disappointment out there, because people were just expecting it right now, even though Microsoft hasn't said anything that the game comes out this year. So that is really the thing, what I'm saying for so long. Microsoft needs to better show and prepare their roadmap for what's ahead and what's the release target, windows, and stuff like that. And this goes not just for Starfield, this goes for all of their announcements, because yeah, like I said, now the fanboys are running the narrative. That being said, when I read all these news, and we have Jason and we have Jeff Grubb, which, by the way, I also highly respect. Jason, not so much. But the thing is, one thing popped into my head. When Jason Ronald was on the Iron Lords podcast, he was asked which game he is most excited about that is coming out this year, and he said, well, his most anticipated game has not been announced yet. So that could be Starfield, that could also be, I don't know, Forza Horizon 5, but we at least know that there is a big hitter coming that we don't know yet about this year. And if Starfield isn't that game, it's fine by me, even though I'm really looking forward to actually play it. Yeah, so I'm fine with a 2022 release. However, I think that we have too many of these guesstimations, even if they come from insiders right now, because like you said, Jason, you can think of him what you want. I don't like him either. He is well connected. We know Jeff Grubb is well connected. We have a couple of other hints coming from other insiders that are well connected, and everybody is telling something different. Yeah, the one guy said, yeah, the game was ready since fall last year. The other guy says it's coming out in Q1 22. The other says it's way off, and they are all connected. So yeah, I don't know whom to believe anymore, to be honest. And I just think it's really time for us to get E3, and I hopefully, and we will talk about that later, get that proper roadmap from Microsoft at E3.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I agree. Again, we have to go with the information that's been provided to us, and if you're asking me, who do I believe? Do I believe a YouTuber? Do I believe in a supposed insider, or do I believe someone like a Jeff Grubb? And I would go with Jeff Grubb 10 out of 10 times. VJ, is this the right move for Bethesda? Ooh. And of course, Microsoft to release this game? It's a hype. Listen, there's a lot riding on this game for Microsoft in many respects. One of which, it is officially an exclusive, right? And one of the narratives that has been unfortunately hurting Microsoft over the course of the last generation was when they release a game, it's buggy, or it has problems, or there's no AAA bangers, quote unquote, however you want to put it. This is a big deal for them, so they got to get it right. And Bethesda has to get it right. And this is we've been hearing this is Todd Howard's baby. Like, this is something he really wanted to do, and he did it. But I want it to be perfect when it comes out, not be your atypical Bethesda game with bugs. Nobody wants that. Is this the right move?
Well, a lot of questions there, Boom. You're not making it easy on my return, are you? I just wanted to applaud and acknowledge Archimedes for being plainly blunt and honest, and I agree with many of his points. But so I'm going to have to sort of have a different take on this now. Thanks, Archimedes. I think
you're welcome.
I think you kind of nailed it on the head, Boom. Starfield is important, if not, and I've said this before, if not imperative to Xbox's success, or one of the pillars leading to its success. Especially if Todd Howard and the team are allowed to deliver on their promise. It's definitely sort of going to support in a meaningful and measurable way in terms of the growth of Game Pass and what it will see. It's definitely going to have a sharp increase whenever that game hits in terms of subscriber volume and numbers, and paid subscribers, I should say. Nobody in their right mind, Boom, would want any game to turn out poorly. I think also that with Bethesda coming online, and I was thinking about this, and in terms of, and you kind of also echoed it, is that I hope that Bethesda, or Todd specifically, now that he's out, he's been unshackled, say, from the execs at ZeniMax, teaches Xbox, look, don't show content when your producers say it's good enough, right? Because the reason why some of their competitors do better than them historically is because when they look at their content and before they show it, they say to themselves, is it the best that it can be? And I hope that that DNA is something that Todd infuses into the Xbox production or producers over at the head office. But you've got to say, the quality and the expectations placed on Bethesda, especially from on a studio, right, that has such a potent and commendable and celebrated history, it's got to hit the mark or the bullseye, so to speak. Look, to be quite honest with you, and I've said this a couple of times in other shows, is that whenever the 2021 release date was touted, I really wasn't holding my breath for it, given the delays we've seen of other prominent games, pretty much left, right, and center. And games that aren't even in the realm or scope of Starfield, right? So if you have to sort of contextualize it, if that's the right word. If Starfield was conceived well from the outset, regardless of the engine rewrites and executed to a high technical and creative production level, then I don't have any concerns for it. But for me, whenever it hits, it's definitely going to be worth its weight in gold if the approach and the attitude that I'm talking about is being taken with this particular title. And I think that also, like, watching some of Todd's sort of past E3 2018 press conferences, there was like a compilation of it someone had posted onto YouTube, and I just stumbled across it as I was looking for Starfield, and I watched it. I also monitored the round table, I think it was, like post the Xbox Bethesda acquisition, and you can clearly tell it's a relief for Todd and Pete Hines that Xbox bought them. I've heard and sense that right now, in terms of the development journey for many games, and probably including Starfield, has not been smooth, relatively speaking. And you can see the sort of pensive angst on Todd's and Pete's face, when they're sort of questioned and asked about what's the situation or what's the status of Starfield, and they've been extremely coy. And you can understand that, right? Because I'll come to that actually in a minute, right? But I'm relaxed given the wealth of talent and experience of Bethesda. What perhaps seems like, say, insurmountable issues for most developers, Bethesda are probably best placed to tackle them. What I'm talking about is, in terms of what I'm hearing and speaking to sort of developers and stuff, is that cross-gen development is not easy at all, especially sort of taking Todd's ambition into consideration. Technical elasticity, if I can put it like that, is a real issue in cross-gen game development, and it's creating a ton of more work for developers, and that is a key issue and a key reason why games are being delayed. And perhaps 3-Bit can speak more to that than me, because he's obviously in the game right now. I think, boom, any team, and if you're sort of honored enough or in a position to be, a Microsoft studio, that you can present to them and they can afford to swallow, any overruns, right, or additional burn, right, for games that they think that absolutely need it or will be pivotal to their ambitions, right? Otherwise, what's going to happen, boom, right? The quality and our expectations will suffer, right? It will be another miss, right?
Yes.
And I concur with Archimedes, whether it's 2022 or 2023, if it is dropped formats, it's no issue for me, and I just wish the studio and the game and the team and the people that are working on it the best of luck.
Yes, you know what, and I agree. Real quick, Yasid Baez in the chat says Matt Booty said in the French media interview and that games that were in development for a while had no real issues. New projects were affected. Yes, but we don't know how far and wide that range is. I mean, is he talking about Fable? Is he talking about Senua Saga? Is he talking about Avowed? We're not going to know. We have a roadmap. We'll know more in a couple of weeks with E3, and of course, this channel is going to have you covered, folks. And we'll be doing 5-day-a-week coverage during the E3 week, and some of those days will require Mr. Boomstick and company to potentially come back for a night show So I'm going to be, obviously I'm going to be seeing what is presented to us and how it's presented to us, and obviously we'll take it from there. But rest assured, you're going to get lots of coverage from this channel. And I'm sure everybody on this panel is going to be doing something during the E3 week at some point or another to further our YouTube careers and, of course, celebrate gaming. It's based, guys, gals. It's our Christmas happening in a couple of weeks. E3 still is something. But let me get to 3-Bit's final opinion on the delay. 3-Bit, you have a unique perspective that we love having on this show, and that's from a developer's point of view. And you obviously are working on things that you can't talk about, which is fine. But generally speaking, knowing that something as big as Starfield is delayed to potentially sometime, maybe even the end of 2022, is that a good thing for Bethesda, Xbox, and the fans?
So the question and whether or not Starfield's coming in 2021, I still think it's possible, but we are getting conflicting reports, and I am among those on who Jason has blocked. So I get it, but we do know Bethesda will be there at E3, and besides Starfield, I'm guessing Arcane will have a game there to show. But the expectations of Starfield keeps continuously rising, and people are looking at this game to lead Xbox away from the narrative that they have no games, and the issue does seem to stem from that. But the good news is, once Microsoft gets the ball rolling on some of these studios and some of these games, it's going to be an almost never-ending wave of games hitting gamers. So I think they have to start it off right, though, and that begins with Halo Infinite and with Starfield as the titles that seem to be coming up. And people who are using Fallout 76 as a title to downplay the work, well, that was definitely a separate studio. I think that was Bethesda Austin, and it was at a time in where they were pressured internally as a studio to produce more games that can make money on a recurring basis, not just primarily.
And in addition to that, they had to use the creation engine, which had absolutely zero online capabilities, and then they had to implement the Quake net code, which is super old in the creation engine to make that game run. It's just not a good point for a discussion here. There have been so many issues with that game. We shouldn't take that as an example.
And that's a good point, Archimedes. And I think that's why you started seeing all these weird decisions from within Bethesda around that time period. But they don't really have money problems anymore, right? We could all agree on that. Microsoft being $1 trillion company, and now they're underneath Xbox. So now they can focus on story-based titles, which is their strong suit, is pretty much story RPG-based games. And in terms of game delays and how COVID has affected things, it really depends on the studio. We sort of talked about this on the show before, but if you're an indie studio, you probably didn't get hit as hard as a AAA studio. A lot of indie studios have a basis of working online anyways, and they adapt a lot of their systems to working online. So when COVID did hit, it hit them a lot less harder. But I do know there are some mocap studios, when the COVID did hit, they were like, okay, well, this is going to be a long time. So how are we going to adapt our developmental process for these games? And I know certain developers who are set up mocaps in their closets and they're just, borrowed it from the studio. And then that's how they had to do it.
That's nuts. That's interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, I want to read a book that someone writes that says, I did mocap for AAA game in my closet or in my basement. I really want to read that book.
I'll send you a link. There is a fantastic video from one of these companies that make the equipment for mocap, and they show a bunch of studios, really big ones. We all know, from Ubisoft, from EA, and so on. And then you see the developers, how they set their mocap studio up in their living rooms, and it's like 5 minutes long. It's super funny to watch.
Definitely check that out. Yeah, no,
you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
Get the job done.
Oh, I just imagined like someone trying to mocap in their like bathroom, and it's weird. But I think Starfield either way is Todd Howard's baby. God Howard, he's gonna kill it, and I'm not sure if it's gonna come out this year or next year, but I think it is safer to think it'll be out next year. It makes sense. But I hope it does come out this year, because I think that would be a really good lineup for Xbox, and they could sort of start getting rid of these narratives that people have been putting on them with the media, and also different people who are interested. Yeah,
like the one thing too, not to try to downplay it or anything, is like you don't really need Starfield this year. Like, you're gonna have Forza. I bet it's gonna look awesome because racing games really take advantage of that hardware.
Yes.
But like, I think all the spotlight should be on Halo.
I agree 100%.
Halo. That should be your.
When they show
your
Halo, that's
title.
gonna be amazing.
Oh my god, dude! I get
there's so much
just
stuff
thinking
we
about
haven't
it.
seen still from Halo,
Yeah.
like the multiplayer.
I know we're a bunch of fake fans. We've never played Halo in our lives, but like, I'm really excited to play it for the first time. But like, Starfield is like something that you could put that in the spring or something. Like, doesn't necessarily have to be this year, or Microsoft doesn't necessarily need the biggest slate of games right off the bat. You just focus on I think the way you change the, like, Microsoft has no games, or their games are sevens, whatever dumb thing.
Yeah,
it's just like, here's Halo, and we proved you wrong. And then you can start tackling things like, to me, I think the sweet spot for Microsoft is like, let's have a big game every quarter and have some small games in between those things.
Yeah, I mean, all they need to do is basically pull a Sony, because
Exactly.
Sony was notorious. If you look at the years that stand out for me as a Sony fan, right? You take 2018, you take 2019, you take 2020, right? These are all bomb years. And I don't mean like in a bad way. I mean, like, holy shit, they released this many games, this much quality in a 3-year span. But what's interesting, and why the narrative never moved away from Sony, was because of the in-betweens that they filled with these second-party deals that were exclusive to the box, right? All of the smaller indie titles, the single-A titles that they locked up, that filled between one big AAA bomb to another, and everyone was always talking about Sony. And it appears that we're going to get a lot of that this year. I mean, the Ascent, July 29th, folks, right? That's going to be a big game. They have so many other smaller ones. 12 minutes is a big game made by
Crossfire X.
Crossfire X by Remedy. I mean, there is Tunic. We can just keep going.
Psychonauts 2.
They're gonna fill it up real nice. And
definitely. But I want to add one thing, if I may,
sure,
to what Joe said. I agree with you. Microsoft should and they definitely will focus on Halo. The thing is, the narrative won't go away with Halo that Xbox has no games, because the narrative was actually always Xbox has only Halo, Forza, and Gears. And if you now only bring out, or only in quotation marks, bring out Halo, you will still have that narrative running around. So what I really hope is that they put at least release targets on those games, because there are actually a couple of other big bangers. Forza Horizon is one of them, but Wolfenstein 3, for instance, that game has been like 4 years in the making now.
Yeah, that actually could be something that replaces Starfield. You know what I'm saying? That they're comfortable about launching, maybe in July, maybe in August, maybe in that October spot.
I mean, even a spring release, it would be totally fine, because the holiday season is typically packed anyway, and that will probably this holiday season probably won't be the fullest we have ever had, because we will get a couple of delays, but there will still be plenty to play. But that spring spot is typically not so filled, and this is really where they can move a game like Starfield. And but I think they should really look that the narrative is not just Halo. They need to also highlight a couple of the other bigger bangers that are coming, and I think Wolfenstein is one of those. It has been in development for 4 years now. That's 1 year longer than every other Wolfenstein game had. Then we have the news or rumor out there that the Indiana Jones game went into full production in March, I think. And that makes me think, okay, if that studio has moved Indiana Jones into full production, Wolfenstein must be close to finish. Yeah. So
but to just to ping back on you though, Archimedes. I don't think when we talk about like, oh, these narratives, oh, Forza, whatever, I think that's more towards the hardcore, us, or even like the fanboys out there. I think if you're the casual consumer, you don't really care. You just want to see something cool.
Yeah, regardless, I think
that is
Microsoft is going to be like Game Pass is, already successful without any huge bangers.
That's correct.
It's all about for us, at least, the narrative that it's just the narrative. And in terms of like success and game, like people actually jumping on these games, it doesn't equate to that. It's literally just destroying these narratives because Xbox has had it with the hardcore market for a while. So
absolutely.
Indeed, yeah.
I mean, everyone had really important things to say here, and obviously, we're going to get something with Starfield this E3. Now, whether they close out the Microsoft show and then start the Bethesda with it, I don't know how that's going to work. We're going to get something. I mean, I think the game is far enough where we can at least get a gameplay trailer, and obviously, they know what happened with Halo last July. That's never going to happen again, and I say that with confidence because it didn't hurt Halo like no one gives a shit. It just was a bad showing, even though I thought the gameplay was amazing and I thought the graphics, to be honest with you, really weren't terrible. But you had some things that have to be fixed, and they're going to fix them, and we're going to see the crux of that this E3. But I want to move on to the next topic. And you know what? We had 15 games announced for Xbox Game Pass coming in the next, month or so. But one of the biggest ones, at least in my personal opinion, was MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries coming to Xbox Game Pass on May 27th. And considering how big this franchise is, this is a huge deal and a big get for Xbox Game Pass, but a big deal for Xbox players. Now, here is the official press release from Faraya. I think it's called Piranha Games. Yeah, I think it's called Piranha Games. We are very excited to announce that on May 27th, we are going to be releasing MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries for the Xbox Series S and X and Xbox One, as well as good old games and on Steam PC. The first DLC, Heroes of the Intersphere, will release at the same time. Thank you, MechWarrior 5 team. Now, Piranha Games also announced that MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries will feature cross-platform play for the first time in the franchise's history. Players can look forward to joining forces with fellow MechWarriors for co-op on both the Xbox Series XS and PC via Steam, and of course, goodoldgames.com. And that is all going to happen on the 27th of May, which is only a week away, folks. And according to the press release, a free major update will be available on the 27th that includes over 30 new enhanced features. Additionally, players will be able to join a friend and experience the entirety of the Heroes of the Intersphere DLC career mode campaign together. Archimedes, this is a big deal, dude. You know what? Listen, you're watching me play some Titanfall 2, one of my favorite games of last gen. And unfortunately, we don't know if we're ever going to get a Titanfall 3. This might be the next best thing. Are you excited for Mercenaries, for MechWarrior Mercenaries?
I have a confession to make. I've never played a MechWarrior game. it's probably not my most anticipated game, but I'm really looking forward to checking it out. And that's I think the beauty of Game Pass, because I would probably never buy that game just simply because I don't have any history with the franchise. But this way, I can easily check it out, and who knows? Maybe I'm going to be a big MechWarrior fan. It definitely looks awesome. Like you said, unfortunately, we probably won't get a Titanfall 3, at least not very soon. And so, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to give it a try.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to giving it a try as well. And again, folks, maybe it's your bag, maybe it's not, but at least you don't have to pay full boat if you have Xbox Game Pass, because it's launching in there day and date along with the new DLC, and it is going to have a single player campaign, which is freaking awesome, because obviously,
and that is to be honest. Pardon me for interrupting, because I really want to add on that. I think this is the thing that some of the critics of Game Pass really don't understand, that especially for those, let's call it AA kind of games, they are always in that spot. If you don't really are 100% convinced, the regular customer just doesn't buy a game for 50 to 70 euros or US dollars, and in order to give it a try. That is just what the regular customers don't do. And these AA games sometimes just need that little push, that they have a certain gamer base that is then out there on social media talking about it. Dude, I'm playing it for the first time, it's awesome. If we post that, then you get that snowball, that avalanche effect, and people start to check it out, and they can do that now without a certain investment, and that is really the strength of Game Pass, and people don't realize how big that actually is. And MechWarrior is the perfect example for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Friend of the show, Mike Lowry, love the name. He says it's the closest thing that we'll have to a successful sequel to Mech Assault, which was one of my favorite OG Xbox games. And I agree with you right there. This is probably going to be the closest that we do ever get to it, because even Phil Spencer said it right. The rights for the game's names are real messy. Everyone owns a little piece here and there, and we'll never actually probably get a Mech Assault sequel, unfortunately. But this is a big deal. Joe, let's get your opinion on this. Look, you're a big Titanfall fan. Again, do I believe that they're never going to make a Titanfall 3? No, I think that the people are going to call for it. We keep talking about it. Eventually, Vince Zampella is going to have to answer the call. There's just no doubt about it. In one way or another, this game came out in 2016 and it still looks absolutely insane, right? But MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries looks next gen, and I think it's going to play next gen. But I think that what we're all talking about, the Game Pass effect, is going to be a big deal. What are your thoughts on this? Are you excited to try it?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Boom. I'm going a little crazy right now. I have too many windows open, and I keep hearing little beeps. And I'm trying my hardest. I'm like closing everything. I'm like, where are these boops and beeps coming from? But here's the thing. It also drives me mad that we haven't gotten a Mech Assault game. Yes. So now I'm just ferociously upset. Mech Assault freaking rocks. Who said it? Mike Lowry?
Lowry, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dude, Mech Assault was my first Xbox Live game. Okay, my first gamer tag was a generated one. Its name was Warlike Coffee. I hate myself as well when I repeat it out loud. But let me tell you something. Mech Assault freaking rocks, man.
Yeah, it does.
It's so good. And I have not played, like, for realsies, a true Mech Assault game since. So, like, the closest thing is Titanfall. And, like, you know me, I'm good at any multiplayer game. Once I get into a mech, or a Titan and Titanfall, all of a sudden my hand-eye coordination goes out the goddamn window. So to me, I'm really excited to like I want a Mech Assault. I understand it's really hard to do, but I really feel like with Titanfall's population or popularity kind of gaining back steam, I definitely feel like you can at least do some type of free-to-play something to give people what they want, because I think the truest problem with mech games is I think they're too systems heavy in terms of like, you know, I see people they buy these like $200 things like, you know, with knobs and whatnot to go and control the mech. I think sometimes those kind of get in the way of like, hey, let's just make a fun big mech game. So that's what that's what I want. I want, give me something. Give me something where anybody can really jump into, but at the same time have something where it's like fun to jump in, but really hard to master type of deal. Make it Mech Assault. Do what you have to do. You're $1 trillion company, Microsoft. I'm tired of these excuses. Oh, licenses are hard. It's like, get it done. Give Joe what he wants. It's Mech Assault 2. Let's do it.
You know, it's funny. Where is it in the chat? I'm trying to find it right here. Oh, it's Stamp1646 would love a Steel Battalion reboot with Capcom using the RE engine. And, you know, Joe, you were talking about that big stick. Remember that big Steel Battalion stick for...
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
That's what I'm thinking in my head, right? I remember working at GameStop and some mad person ordered it. I bring it up. I'm like, what is this? What are you building? Like, should I
call the FBI?
Exactly. Am I an accomplice to something? I don't know. Yeah, dude, those things were huge. And like, though it's cool in the moment, it's like those things are too gimmicky for the casual consumer to really jump in on. Look at how many classic guitars you see outside of homes in recycling day because of Guitar Hero and Rock Band, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get something where anybody can really jump in. Yeah. So give me a Mech Assault too. Don't give me these different names. Don't give me any. Give me Mech Assault. Give me my little AT looking dude. I loved him. He had little chicken walking legs. I forget the name, but yeah, that'd be dope.
I absolutely agree. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to find. Someone said someone mentioned Chrome Hounds. Remember that? Chrome Hounds was kind of dope. Who was that?
The name is so familiar. Let me get
I'm
this
trying
out
to find it. Hold on.
I'm a fake fan again. Chrome Hounds.
Chrome Hounds was dope, dude.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm looking at the old chicken walker guy right now.
Oh man. Listen, VJ,
That's
let's get your opinion on listen, this is a game that saw tremendous success on the PC. Sure. But you know, obviously, again, like many people in the chat are alluding to, it's going to be the closest thing we get, at least for now, for an absolute follow-up or sequel to Mech Assault, which launched 2 versions, Mech Assault 1 and 2 on the OG Xbox. This is the advantage of Game Pass. Not many people know about this game, but if it turns out to be as good as I think it is, and people start championing this game because they're playing it on Xbox Game Pass, well, then it's a win for everyone. It's a win for fans. It's a win for Xbox, and more importantly, a win for Xbox Game Pass, proving its prowess in the gaming space. What are your thoughts on this announcement? And is it a big deal to get a game like this that isn't really well known into Game Pass?
So funnily enough, I was speaking to someone in the community this morning, Mr. Tushi, and he'd booted it up. He was booting up on his PC as we were chatting, but he had to shoot out to pick up his wife. So it'd be interesting to get his thoughts on MechWarrior 5 later today. There's just one thing, Boom. I just wanted to cover. I've been hearing people sort of saying that the Xbox narrative, that it has no games, and I think that's pretty irrelevant and dated, don't you think? I would
agree. Yeah,
I would suggest Xbox has many games in development. It's probably a more sensible, apt, and accurate narrative. Especially until E3 perhaps evolves that narrative even further, and it's only a few weeks away. So yeah, it's kind of silly to hear that. I think. Look, for me, the first time I ever encountered sort of a mech on mech combat, I think it was a Solid Snake, right, up against Revolver Ocelot, who was in a Metal Gear, and I was in a Rex or whatever. And to be quite honest with you, beyond these sort of brief encounters or experiences, I can't say that I'm personally sort of energized or excited or interested in sort of mech on mech series. But I'm sure that there is many people like Mr. Tushi, who I spoke to this morning, who have seen the advertisement for the game coming to Game Pass. That's ignited his imagination and made him then go and want to. And I said, "Are you playing the game?" because it's engaging, it's interesting, it's because what you want to do, or are you trying or testing? He said, I want to try and I want to test it. And I said, okay, that's absolutely fair enough. But as I say, I think I'm sure many people in the Xbox ecosystem are looking forward to MechWarrior, and I applaud the variety of games already in and around the Xbox Game Pass subscriber service, right? Obviously where it's applicable, right? At the same time, in parallel, I think this game is coming in September, so please correct me if I'm wrong. It's coming from Xbox Game Pass. So I think
so what you're talking about, MechWarrior 5?
Yeah.
No, that comes out this month, May 27th.
Oh, is it really? Oh, okay,
yes.
Cool, fantastic. Yeah, I think the timing is probably right.
Yes,
because I'm kind of looking at E3 and post E3, boom, and I'm always kind of looking ahead. And I know there's lots and lots of games coming into Game Pass. Some months are really fantastic for me, and I don't know what to do with myself, and I have to allocate time. And then there's some months that go, and I'm kind of slightly underwhelmed. But that's the nature of it, right? Because it's only just begun, and as we say, there's a long way to go in this generation. But I'm kind of looking at September when the game industry goes full throttle, and I really want to see, sort of Xbox, pull out some real rabbits out of the hat, especially heading into sort of the all-important business end of the calendar year, right? When it's the real opportunity to really deliver home on your ambitions, right? The fourth quarter with Thanksgiving, Xbox in tow, and Christmas in tow, and so on and so forth. It's an important time frame where Xbox need to show up with content aggressively and meaningfully. So, and I was hoping more of that at the beginning of this year, right? But I guess given the hardware delays and so on and so forth, we are seeing titles like MechWarrior 5. And I'm not sort of trying to undermine the titles. I say many people are looking forward to that. And I'm caveating my points, obviously, with the fact, and obviously my observations with the fact that this is in lieu of titles like 12 Minutes, Ascent, and Tunic, and etc. arriving to Game Pass. But I'm assuming that none of those have release dates at the current moment. Am I right?
That is correct. We don't, a lot of the Ascent is coming on July 29th. We do know that for a fact. We don't know about Tunic. We don't know about 12 Minutes. There's a few of them that we don't actually know about. And I think we're going to get a lot of surprise drops during E3, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really, really hope so, because I understand the ambition that Xbox have. I know the hopes that the fans have to improve Game Pass and continue, for Phil at least, right, to continue his rise as a key player, if not the industry leader this gen. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, great stuff as always. You know what's interesting? I kind of want to just get right over to 3-bit on this. When you talk about something like MechWarrior 5, maybe it's not the AAA game that you were looking for, but when you start adding up big games, like for instance, it was just announced D&D Dark Alliance dropping into Game Pass day and date, man, and you have MechWarrior 5, and you have all these other smaller titles getting dropped into Game Pass. Again, what this does for Xbox Game Pass and the people that support it, and I think it's safe to say that they're probably well over 25 million at this point. I mean, again, I know that there was some question whether it was 22, 23. I think that as we get closer to E3, if they keep up with 1 million per month, they'll be at 25. They'll definitely hit 30 by the end of the year. Again, in my opinion, this is a big deal. What do you have an excitement to try this game on Xbox Game Pass? Is it something that you would enjoy playing with people in the community?
I think the great thing about Game Pass is that with Game Pass, it mitigates the risk of gamers trying things. For example, I'm not a baseball fan, but I tried out MLB The Show. Why? Because it was in Game Pass. Yeah. And why not? And that why not question, I bet you, is what Microsoft and other developers want you to have. They want you to just try things like that, because that question increases engagement for games like crazy. So not only do you have the base fan audience of MechWarrior who are going to try this game, who love maybe Chrome Hounds and Mech Assault, but now you also have the Game Pass people on top of all that as well. And I haven't really played the previous games as much. I dove into Mech Assault. I believe this one on PC a long time ago, and I really enjoyed it. So Yeah, it looks really fun to play regardless. Some of the combat looks very in-depth and thought out and chaotic fun. Being able to customize your mech is a fun time. And looking at Titanfall also is hyping me up for mechas. Maybe it's because of the little robots they're jumping on and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the release date is very smart. Releasing pre E3 before you start getting these heavy hitters. And for the fans of Chrome Hounds and Mech Assault, I think it'll be a good time. But yeah, I think this is why Game Pass is such a good thing. It just encourages people to try out games like this, otherwise where they otherwise wouldn't have spent that 60 or now $70. So, gosh, my freaking voice, $70 for a lot of these titles, right? So,
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good time, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, real quick, Philip Hanna in the chat says Chrome Hounds was developed by From Software, by the way. You know what, dude? I didn't even freaking know that.
Published by them or something,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Or
Well, it was published by Capcom. Oh no, I'm sorry. We're talking about the other thing. Yeah, I didn't even know that, to be honest with you. And that's pretty dope, because I'd love to see that come back too. I quite enjoyed Chrome Hounds. I spent hours customizing my mechs. It was just crazy. But I do want to move on to the next topic. Joe, this is something that I want to go to you first on, because whether you folks in the chat believe it or not, and we have almost 400 people here, Joe is Halo player number one. I would even dare say that you would give Luke Lore, who has a Master Chief helmet, a run for his money in fandom. And this is a double-edged sword topic, because obviously you saw by the artwork that I put together for the thumbnail that we have some redacted Nintendo X Microsoft stuff to talk about. But before we get there, and we segue into that, Joe, I got to talk about Master Chief, and more importantly, Smash Brothers, because, you know, one of the things that's pretty interesting is the way when you have IPs as big as Halo, and you have characters like a Master Chief, John 117, as iconic as he is, you know, places like Microsoft are very, very careful where their IP goes. And one of the things that saw me that the grip started to loosen a little bit, because of an overall goal that we're going to get to in the conversation, was when on December 16th of 2020, Master Chief found his way to Epic Games Fortnite. Now, this was both a huge win for, of course, Epic Games, but I think more importantly for Xbox, because this was the breadcrumbs to get players who normally would not be on Xbox to say, who is that spaceman in that green armor? I like it. And now we've been hearing for quite some time that the next Halo Online is going to be free to play. So how do you get these Fortnite players to come and try your free-to-play Halo game? How do we get people who normally play on their phones and their tablets, the younger audience? Well, you do that by getting a Master Chief into Fortnite. But I think that there is another audience, and we're going to talk about it on the second half of this topic, about the importance of the work that's going on behind the scenes with Microsoft and with Nintendo. And listen, call it what you may. Maybe Smash Brothers isn't your jam. It's my jam. I suck at it. I still do, but I play it because of the unbelievable wealth of characters from every facet of gaming. I mean, where did you ever think you were going to get Ryu to go up against Mario, or Bowser to fight Terry Bogard? I mean, what world are we living in? So it almost seems like it was a match made in heaven, that the newest rumor comes to us from a multitude of sources that Halo's Master Chief, that's right, John 117, is coming to Smash Brothers, and that announcement is going to come at E3 2021 during their Treehouse event. My question to you isn't if, Joe. My question to you is, how important is it to get Master Chief into Smash?
It's pretty dang important. So And the reason why, first off, how much of a fan am I of Halo? I keep this thing on me, homie. You know, that's what the kids are saying. I have that literally
That's
always right here on the desk, just in case my second member is right. Anyway, I think this is huge, dude. Like, so I love Halo. I may not be the best Halo player or know all the lore, but for me as a little kid, I used to like paint my stormtroopers green and pretend that they were my Master Chief dude.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah. Again, I'm a fake fan. I don't know what I'm talking about here. So for me, I would love to see the Master Chief in Super Smash Brothers. Seeing him in Fortnite, I'm gonna say this. I'm a staunch proponent. He's the best skin in that game. Like, Epic did an amazing job of keeping him true to what a Fortnite world would be at the same time.
Yes, and keeping him what he would look like in the game. Yes.
Yeah, it's just like it's like he fell in a portal and just bloop in the Fortnite world. So good. It's so good. So like, I have no doubt in my mind if and when Master Chief does come to Smash Brothers, that it's they're going to take their time and make sure it's right. You know, like, does he use an energy sword as his melee or a gravity hammer? Who knows? Maybe they use his grappling hook as a hook as well. Like, you know, a rocket for his down B. Like, they could just give him so much to kind of work with. So I'm all for it. I would love, and I would again start going to church if this is the case. I would, if we see at their little, like, you know, Xbox Direct, all of a sudden, oh god, who's the director of Smash Brothers? It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't get it.
Oh my god!
Everybody's concerned for his health about his carpal tunnel.
Yes.
But like, if we just see him pop up on stage and go, "Hey, we got one last thing we'd like to share with you," and then it's like an invitation to Smash. And again, the thing I keep on thinking about in my mind, I have dreams about, is just seeing, like, maybe even just having the tease of like a Halo 3 remake or remaster for the Master Chief Collection, like the same trailer, and then him running down, because it's one of the coolest trailers ever. Him running into the pit, and then once he jumps, it's like, oh snap, whoa, wow, we're getting it. And then it's just like another cut of him looking up, and you just see the Smash symbol on his visor.
Oh my
it's
god,
like,
I love it, dude.
Dude, put a fork in me. I'm done. I believe. Again, I'm going to church. I'm going to be a practicing Catholic again. It's going to be nuts. Like, dude, I'd be like, I bought Smash Brothers again. I sucked so bad in that game. It's literally astounding how horrible I am at fighters, and particularly Smash Brothers.
I'm awful.
Dude,
awful.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's honestly embarrassing for me. And so I'll do it. Just point me in the direction if this is the case. I want it to be so bad, because we see that collaboration. It's happening. Been saying it for years now.
Yes.
And I think it's gonna happen.
Let me just say this. If there is, look, I besides producing 4 live shows per week and doing all the the work, no interns here, folks. It's simply just me. Mrs. Boomstick now is helping out big time. I watch a lot of YouTube videos because I watch everyone's content. I want to support people that support me, but I have to be honest with you. If there is one thing that makes me nerd out, Joe, is watching the Smash community during a reveal of a character. It is, look, I'm talking about it and I'm getting goosebumps on the top of my head because it's some of the best content, because it's real. It's a group of gamers, guys, girls, everybody in between. And when they announced, like, for instance, Banjo-Kazooie, I fell out of my freaking chair because I love that Bear and Bird so much, and I've been banging the drum for a remake of some sorts, and they got into Smash. Just imagine those videos with Master Chief, Joe. Oh, you're muted.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, like, dude, that's what I love too. Like, I love watching, the Smash reveals because people
They're
lose
the
their
best,
mind.
dude.
I'll
They're the
I'll go
best.
on YouTube. I'll look up the end game fight, the reactions, to just see like when people yell when they hear on your left. Like, dude, all of it. Like, I live for that stuff. That is like Joe sad. I'm putting that on and I'm cured. So yeah, no, this would be awesome. And to see again, like, communities come together and celebrate gaming is literally what I'm all about. And so seeing that in real time just makes my heart grow, which maybe it shouldn't. Maybe it needs to stay where it's at right
Listen,
now.
we're all nerds. That's
let's
the end of
go,
the
let's
story.
do it.
We're all nerds. Archimedes, let's get your opinion on this. Obviously, there is a plan in place here. The Nintendo situation that we're going to talk with on the back end of this is a partnership that has been in the works since, I want to say, all the way back at the Wii, when Microsoft says, "Hey, for $600 you can get a PS3, or for that same $600 you can get an Xbox 360 and a Wii." Right? Remember, they would use they both companies were using that, right? So the plan, I'm not saying it's gone that far back, but I'm saying that the confidence that they have within each other, both Nintendo and Microsoft, is something that is a big deal, and it's happening. And it's happening. It seems like it's going to happen in a big way. But for you personally, as someone who covers this industry from top to bottom, how big of a deal is it for Microsoft with them launching a new Halo this holiday season to get Master Chief in Smash?
Oh, I think it's a good part of a bigger plan from Microsoft.
Yes.
Because see, the thing for Halo is really, we are all old guys. Yeah, we played. We can say now Halo for decades.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course we are fans because we hold so much nostalgia with the franchise. But Microsoft has to, in order to make Halo a true success, has to also bring in the new generation of gamers that did not grow up with Halo, that grew up with the shooters that they played over the last 5 to 10 years. And we only had one Halo game in the last 10 years. So they really need to bring that franchise to the younger audience, to the Fortnite players, to the Call of Duty players, and that is a big challenge, because the shooter space is really filled and littered with tons of shooters out there. A lot of them are now free to play. That's the reason why they make the multiplayer free to play, which is genius in my opinion. But the thing really is, the Nintendo is a brand that is and foremost designed for kids. Of course, we all love Nintendo as well. Yeah, I have my Switch here. I have had every handheld and console from Nintendo, and I still buy their games, even though I'm regularly disappointed that I buy Mario 64 for the 10th time or so. But anyway, my kids, my son's first video game was Mario Kart, actually. The thing is, kids grow up with Nintendo, to bring the Master Chief, this iconic mascot, the face of Xbox, into that platform and just make the Master Chief known in that realm is really, really important, I think. That's the same thing, of course, with Fortnite. Yeah, same idea here to bring the Master Chief closer to a new generation of gamers, and for that, it is a genius move, and a good move to do that. So yeah, to answer your original question, is this a big deal? I think I answered that pretty clearly. Yeah, and we will see how far along the collaboration is. I mean, we know that there are rumors out there that there's a bigger collaboration.
We're gonna get to the we're gonna get to the back end of that, because I think that it's substantial. I have some speculation town tickets that we're gonna be getting on the bus right after this, and Joe likes that. But let's bring in VJ. VJ, listen, from the marketing mind of you, I want to grab your thought process on this, because listen, Smash Brothers, even though the iteration that we are currently playing was a port that was brought over from the Wii U, right? But it's a port that has been tremendously successful on both platforms, but more importantly, it's been getting a lot of TLC with lots of DLC characters, from Terry Bogard to Solid Snake to everybody. I mean, everybody that's anybody is in there. The one missing element is Master Chief. My question to you, from a marketing point of view, you're launching Halo Infinite, right? The single player. We know that's going to be a big deal, but you're launching the first time for ever free-to-play model to combat the Fortnites, to combat all of the PUBGs and everything else that's free-to-play out there. And how better to do that, to get people interested in potentially coming over, is to get that Nintendo group and getting Master Chief into Smash, I think has such big ramifications. But what are your thoughts on it?
I was going to say, Boom, do you want to rephrase your question from missing element to main component?
Yeah, well, there you go. No, by all means, go crazy.
Sorry, Boom, I had to get that. I had to watch a trailer of Smash Brothers last night when I knew what the topic was, and just looking at it from afar, I think that Smash Brothers, how can I put it, is a sort of a festival that encapsulates a timeless celebration. I think that's what the development team sort of targeted. I mean, Smash Brothers has always been sort of resoundingly colourful and joyful and effortless, right, in its ability to sort of echo what's wholesome, blessed, sort of magical, delightful, inspiring, and wonderful, and definitely majestic about what video games are. I think it unifies how can I put it, so many beloved characters like the ones you just mentioned in a positive, energetic and sort of graceful and meaningful way, albeit it's in a beat 'em up. That's, again, I would say, is in a unique class of its own. I can't think of another similar game from the top of my mind. Look, I think if there's such thing as a divine oneness in the universe and you want to align yourself with the right energy and action, then Master Chief should be welcomed with open arms to appear in Smash Brothers. This is an inevitability if it's not an actual fact right now that we're unaware of now, because it's being held for official announcements. And on that note, I'm kind of wondering what's the cause of the delay, right, in rolling out this sort of ceremonious red carpet for Master Chief to march down. I'm sure, I'm sure there's a throne reserved for Master Chief at the prestigious sort of, honored Smash Brothers great table that Nintendo have got lined up for him. And to be honest with you, Boom, if I was at Nintendo, which was obviously I don't work there, that's the sort of PR energy sort of blurb or plug or framework or phrasing that I would use to sort of prepare and provide my marketing team to build around, right, for the announcement and the launch of the character. Look, I've got no real idea what Nintendo and Xbox are planning. It was just such a wonderful topic to cover, and I would ask, if it is going to happen, I would ask Nintendo and Xbox to run with something that presents a strong, united team up and unity, and prep any announcements sort of accordingly for this upcoming E3 next month. I wouldn't want Master Chief to be presented casually, as some characters have been in partnering with Nintendo and Smash Brothers. Some of the King of Fighters and Dragon Quest characters come to mind when I say that. So all in all, Boom, what I would hope is that they both together make a wonderful splash, right? Just like Tom Hanks and John Candy did back in the early 80s.
Yeah. No, a lot of people don't probably know who poor John Candy was. I loved John Candy. Yeah. He's no longer with us, but he was a great actor for sure.
Just a movie reference, Boom. There.
No. I appreciate that, definitely. Yeah, no, I
missed everybody.
No, but you know something, to your point, VJ, I think you're right. I think that Master Chief has earned the red carpet treatment, and I think that honestly, this is one of those instances where someone like a Phil Spencer walks out at the Treehouse event, and you're like, whoa, wait a second, what's going on here? And again, we're going to talk about it in a moment about where I think this partnership is going, but Master Chief being a part of that is a big deal. But you know what? Let's get 3-bit in on the conversation, and we'll move on to the second half of of this particular topic, because VJ, I'll go to you first, surprisingly enough, because we're gonna need the big guns for this one. This Nintendo partnership that potentially is happening is mine. I think it's industry changing. But VJ, we'll come back to you in a second. 3-bit, let's get your opinion on this. Master Chief going to Smash Bros. Again, not confirmed, but man, heavily rumored, and it's one of those announcements I think that we could see coming soon. How big of a deal is it for the plans that Microsoft has to bring Halo to the mainstream? And is Master Chief in Smash one of those plans?
Oh man, I would love Master Chief to be in Smash Bros. I think that would be great. And in fact, and I know we're going to talk about this in the next topic, dealing with the xClouds, but I think if that is not going to happen, the other reason why these Microsoft executives could be having the Switch in their background could be the Master Chief announcement. And I think they already have several other Microsoft characters in Smash Brothers currently. I'm pretty sure they have Steve from Minecraft.
Yes.
And Banjo-Kazooie, right?
Yes, that's correct. Right. Yep.
So those are 2 already. You just need to add one more, and Master Chief is one of those characters where, for me, like Halo is one of the reasons why I'm even in the industry. It led to so many different things. So I freaking love Halo. But yeah, I personally think right now, in terms of like the relationship with Microsoft and Nintendo of this actually happening, Microsoft is definitely helping out Nintendo. We haven't seen much vice versa, but maybe behind the scenes that is changing. And I would love to see a surprise moment where we see Master Chief joining Smash, and you just think about his attacks, right? The potential is there for like a bubble shield. I mean,
the use of his new grappling hook seems like something that would immediately jump off the page for those producers there.
Yes, and we already know they did sort of like a marketing thing with like Master Chief joining Fortnite, right? So this could coincide with Halo Infinite's release, maybe putting Master Chief in Smash Brothers, which could probably like reboot their marketing campaign, because know they're gonna start going AWOL, pretty much ham with all these different announcements of Halo again, with all these different commercials and stuff. So, but a surprise moment would be just seeing the different attacks Master Chief could potentially have with a grappling hook. His shield could be like the bubble shield. Maybe he's special. He's like driving a warthog into someone or dropping a ring on somebody. This is so much things they could do there. But Cortana, I think, would be awesome too. Cortana, where after you see Master Chief wreck all these different Smash Brothers characters, you see Cortana joins the fight as well. I think that would be like, come on. This is I nerd out with this, just thinking about the possibilities here. So we'll see. Ori, I think Mav said in the chat you would love to see Ori in Smash too.
That would be kind of dope cool too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so good stuff. I'm excited if this is true.
Well, you know what? Let's just segue into the biggest topic of the show. This is something that has, listen, the Apple versus Epic situation is something that has been running for about a couple of weeks now, and we've seen some megaton information drop from all of these secret documents, right? But it has slowed down for a bit, and we weren't sure if we were going to get anything more until, of course, reading directly from Stephen Totilo, formerly of Kotaku, who he was the editor-in-chief. Now he's currently running Axios.com. It's AXIOS.com. This is what he had to say. Because
Axios, he's a reporter for Axios.
He's a reporter for Axios. Okay, so
they're a big deal. Yeah,
they are a big deal. They've gotten some big exclusives recently. I didn't know who they were until I started seeing their name. Like, who are these people getting these exclusives? And they've they've gotten some big ones. Well, this is what he had to say on his Twitter. He says, Nintendo says the portions of an Xbox biz dev executive's disposition in Epic versus Apple reflect competitively sensitive information about negotiations between Microsoft and Nintendo. She was primarily deposed about trying to bring xCloud to iOS and more broadly discussed console business. Now, this I pulled, folks, from Windows Central, good friend of this channel. And they said this: just earlier this year, speculation kicked up around a cloud-based version of Game Pass that could potentially land on Nintendo's console. Given how the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, has been careful to avoid mentioning Game Pass supported platforms as being the head of Xbox, cloud and PC only, it sure seems like he knows expansion is coming. Heck, the man has a Nintendo Switch on his shelf right where everyone can see it. Plus, Phil Spencer blatantly said that Microsoft isn't done trying to get Game Pass on other consoles via cloud streaming. And why should Microsoft give up? If there's one console on the market that seems to be a good fit for Xbox Game Pass, it's the Switch, which of course is portable. Now, here's something that I want to say, and I kind of want to focus on before we bring VJ into the conversation. And folks, this is speculation town all the way. If you think for a second that, and I don't have the pictures here, the redacted documents, they were completely blacked out, and there was quite a few of them. There was a lot of stuff here. And I'm going to say this again, this is just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. I could be wrong, and usually I am. I think that there is so much more to this deal than just Master Chief in Switch coming to Smash Bros. And I think that it's even more so than getting just Xbox Game Pass on the Switch. And I'm going to tell you what I think it is. I think that, listen, anyone that owns a Switch knows that their online is just, I mean, I can tape two pencils together with an eraser from 3 years ago and would run better than what they currently have, right? So I'm going to say that it could be something like an Azure announcement. Maybe Microsoft behind the scenes helped them restructure or remake a new online system, potentially using what they did with the 360 and the Xbox One, but for Nintendo. And of course, that is going to then use what they have with xCloud and of course Xbox Game Pass. VJ, listen, you know the business inside and out. And again, I know this is a new story. You may not be too familiar with what's going on with Nintendo or Xbox, but do you believe that there is something much bigger than Xbox Game Pass on Switch?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a counter position to what I think might be a popular viewpoint. So then I'll say something and then everyone can knock it down. So I'll be the 10 pins in this conversation. So I can only talk about what I know about Nintendo historically, and if you know about Nintendo, you know that they don't share power or play well with others. I've known technical and production discussions to go on frequently, right, between Nintendo and publishers, consumer licensing companies, and all sorts of other technology companies, and Sony and Xbox do the same, right? And Nintendo, you guys know, right, they're incredibly insular, right, as they plot and plan, the future, and they look to glean what they can from these sort of meetings, and then they go away and then they go and deploy their own very unique or predetermined plans, right? Like most corporations, they'll invite others in, help ask questions that kick the tires of their own projects, in order to sort of validate, consolidate, and refine them before pushing forward with them. It's sort of like a play testing scenario for Corpse, right, versus play testing your video game, right, to make sure consumers can interact with it really well and the product will do well in itself. Look, I don't know. Are we talking about online servers here, right? Specifically, right? Boom?
Yes. Well, I mean, you could take it any way you want. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to talk about with the redacted information.
Yeah.
And obviously, Nintendo was pretty upset because they did not want this coming out of the bag, from what we understand.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. Okay. So, look, I don't know enough about what services Azure offers to clients and what their competitors are, or who their competitors are in this space. I'm assuming it's Amazon and Google and others. And if indeed Nintendo are looking for a partner to supply such services, the question is, could they go wrong with Microsoft and Azure, especially with Sony already seemingly, sort of parked over at Microsoft campus as well, right? Surely Sony have done their own due diligence before both CEOs were, sort of pictured shaking hands warmly, right? And before they're off to have some sushi and sake. So, I mean, then you've got like Game Pass to Switch. It's a tough one. It all comes down to the risk and reward for both companies. What persuasive leverage does Xbox have, and does that benefit? Obviously, it's obviously going to benefit Xbox, but is there enough of a benefit there? And and leverage? I mean, what do they have on Nintendo, right? What could they be saying to them, right? To say to them, this makes sense for you, or otherwise, or else, right? And having that service officially on the Switch, is something that Nintendo have to look at in terms of what's the foreseeable risks, short, medium, and long term, or eventualities, short, medium, and long term. I don't mean like 2 years or 3 years. I mean 5 to 10 years. There's lots of benefits for Xbox for sure. The subscriber base, sort of reaching the moon is the main objective, right, at this present moment in time. All whilst sort of expanding. I think 3-Bit mentioned it pretty clearly, right, in terms of brand awareness, goodwill, and hopefully popularity, right, through a beloved brand, which is the Nintendo, and they're obviously ever so popular, and who knows how many it's going to sell, right? I think it's 80 or 90 million already, right? And it just seems like it was only released a couple of years ago, right? And it seems like it's got a lot of legs in it still. So I think if I'm from Nintendo's point of view, their biggest concern will be how will Game Pass affect first-party software sales? Is probably something off the top of my head. And will Switch users opt to pick up Xbox or just use PCs to subscribe to Game Pass as a de facto way of playing games 10 years down the line? Are we Nintendo unnecessarily and perhaps unwisely promoting Xbox and Game Pass, and more so Microsoft, perhaps a titan in sheep's clothing, a Trojan horse perhaps in our own country, right, in Japan, and is that going to be to our own long-term detriment? And look, boom, we could be here all day, probably all week, probably up until E3. There are a million questions to be asked, filed, and ranked, and Nintendo, if they're even remotely considering this move, it won't make it easy for Xbox to agree to. Look, I don't have all the answers, but if I was Nintendo, or any company for that matter, in any sort of industry, the answer is always initially going to be no, then it's going to be no again, and then it's going to be no again until it's a yes. Yeah. And that mountain is an arduous one to climb, and I do hope that the Microsoft team in Japan is not fundamentally spearheading or directing this initiative, because as I've mentioned before, they're not that hot at it. So I hope Phil and stateside, are heavily involved with this, with Bowser over at Nintendo. I can't remember where. They're based in Seattle as well. I can't remember now. Yeah. Or directly with Japan. As I say, and let me know if I'm going off topic, because I'm just trying to get it all out. As I say, Nintendo will be very wary of anyone building on the back of the house that they've built without proper planning permission, signed in triplicate, which they far more than often. And I know even Activision have had a tough time with them in the past for numerous different projects that have never seen the day of the light. And they tend not to provide approval, as memory serves me, and they do on very, very rare occasions. And maybe this is one of them. I would suggest, like everyone else, I would personally, as a gamer, as a kid gamer, as Archimedes would probably put it, I would love to see an official partnership and be able to access Game Pass via an app on my Switch. And I know there were some other sort of questions and stuff that you posed last night in the brief notes that you supplied, but because you haven't asked it yet, I won't go into that, and I'll leave it to the panel to disseminate nonsense.
No, that's quite all right. You've knocked it out of the park as always. Joe, I want to go to you next on this. Listen, Jeffrey Grubb, friend of the show, has said numerous times that what Phil Spencer had on his shelf in the back is meaningful, and he said some are much bigger than anyone anticipates. Sarah Bond, while she was being interviewed, had a Switch directly behind her. I mean, listen, I love Sarah Bond, and I think that she's, again, having fun with this. I think that this Nintendo thing is huge. I think I'm going to give you another nugget of Speculation Town, Joe, where I want you to go crazy with this. What happens What happens if somehow or another Nintendo is using Microsoft's knowledge to help them build the Switch Pro? To run the bigger games on Xbox Game Pass, and they say, Phil Spencer, we want Game Pass on here. It's a win-win for everybody. It's a win for you. It's a win for us. But we're having some troubles. Could they be actually helping with the? I mean, Jason Ronald flies out to Japan to give him a breakdown of how to make this Switch Pro be as powerful and get the most out of it, so you can run maybe some of the bigger the game, Xbox Game Pass titles on there.
All right. So I've been saying this for a minute. We're gonna see a form of Game Pass on Switch.
Yes.
We've seen, games like Control, Hitman 3 are on the Switch,
right?
Through their cloud service.
Yes.
I think they're definitely testing the water.
Resident 7 was on the cloud in Japan and ran excellent.
And I think we're seeing that idea for Nintendo to say, okay, well, we don't want to be necessarily attached to M-rated games, but we do see that our market has these second systems or as PCs. Well, what if we can get into that without really committing to it by putting the Nintendo name to it? And I think the alliance that they had with Minecraft, which again, a lot of people think like, Xbox, PlayStation are at war all the time. These companies talk a lot to each other because they deal a lot with each other now. So like Minecraft is a great example of that. Microsoft and Nintendo have been talking to each other for a very long time because Minecraft is such a huge game, and you kind of seen, Xbox and Nintendo kind of shake hands of like, okay, so can we put achievements in Minecraft? Can we put, Xbox Live in it in that type of way? And Nintendo just go, all right, fine. You see Banjo in Smash, you see Steve in Smash as well. These things kind of make sense. They're you see that the relationship is glowing. They're letting Nintendo use their IP because they know that fans are going to love it. And, I think that relationship is becoming more and more warm as Nintendo takes a look at their internet structure and go, okay, all right, we don't like internet stuff, but we'll do it because we kind of see where the tea leaves are. I don't think Nintendo's like, hey, Xbox, help us engineer a console. That's not them. But it's more like, okay, help us engineer this cloud service. So like you saw PlayStation or Sony partner with Microsoft for those Azure servers for their game services. I think you're going to see something similar here. Now, the thing I've been saying for a while now, that Switch means something. Been saying it for over a year. That partnership with Nintendo and Xbox are going to get way more personal.
Yes.
You're going to see them partner up in a bigger way. I think you are going to see a form of Game Pass. It may not be like 1-to-1. Like I think
it's going to be similar to what's going on with PC. Like PC Game Pass
PC
is
or even
different.
Or mobile. Like that's where I think they're going to
Yes.
head in that. Like when you see games that are coming to Game Pass, you're going to see mobile and Switch. Like that's what we're going to see from them. Because again, Nintendo doesn't necessarily want all of the Xbox games, right? They want to sell indies. They want to make sure that they got indies in their pocket because Switch sales for indies are huge. So they don't want to lose out on that.
Yeah.
But they also want to gain probably on some of the mature audiences without really having to be married to it. So I think it's happening. I think you're going to get a form of xCloud / Game Pass on the Switch. I think it's going to be announced at E3. And I think what this truly tells, and something I've also been banging the drum on, Microsoft is not here to sell you an Xbox.
Yes.
If you're part of the ecosystem, that's great.
Yes.
Congratulations, you're here. But they're trying to sell you Game Pass.
Yes.
The Xbox is just part of the family of. It's kind of like you own an iPhone but iTunes could also be on Android. That's the thing here.
Mhm.
That's what they're trying to sell you, this huge service. And so the thing that we have to stop, but I know fanboys love, is this us and them attitude. Gang, I think that this is the beginning of the end of this console war shenanery, because I definitely feel like it will not be soon. I'm not saying tomorrow, a year from now, 5 years from now, you are going to see a Game Pass on a PlayStation. You're going to see whatever the PlayStation alternative is on an Xbox. It's all about dotting I's, crossing T's, and really it is about breaking those barriers. Xbox, if Microsoft could tomorrow get Game Pass on PlayStation, they absolutely would do it, because they want to keep growing that base. It's about breaking down barriers. That's what Microsoft's about. And I know it sounds crazy. I'm like on crazy pills, but just take a look at some of the things Microsoft has been doing in the last few years. Try to look at it through an open-minded lens, and you see that it doesn't sound too crazy. Again, not tomorrow or the next day. It's something way down the line. This is Microsoft's true goal, to make Game Pass so unignorable that it will be on every single platform possible. That's how you reach that 2 billion number. So I think their main focus is going to be, Switch is here and this is great, but their main target is going to be for mobile phones and people with low-end PCs that don't have those, RTX 3070 Ti expansion extra large editions. It's for people that want a game but don't have either the money to do it, or really the funds. It's kind of what the dream of Stadia was. Remember, Stadia's goal was to get to the most casual of markets as possible and to saturate that marketplace, and they failed to do it because they didn't have the games to do it with. So this is going to be a huge deal. Batten down the hatches. I believe this is coming. I feel in my heart of hearts, and I want this to happen, man. This is great for gamers everywhere. The only thing that I do worry about is how good is that xCloud service, because xCloud on iPhone, for me, sucks right now because of that web browser.
Yes.
So they really have to, and I know it's way better on Android. I know it's way better. Everybody stop yelling at me. I know it's way better on Android. So I think that's another thing that Microsoft's going to be doing, is implementing how to make xCloud better and run better on browsers. That's going to be their next big push. I would not be surprised if you don't see just partnerships, but acquisitions in that lens, because I think at this point Microsoft's way more interested of seeing how to get xCloud on more places, or acquiring things to get xCloud on more places, than like studios at this point. I think Microsoft really wants to make this service so freaking good. So that's what I'm thinking, man. xCloud on Switch, let's make it happen, gang.
I think you might be onto something with that. Again, subscription services is Microsoft's goal. Yes, if you want to buy a console, they will thank you for it with an email and give you a month of Game Pass for free, right? They're happy you can buy a console, but at the end of the day, they want you paying monthly. Archimedes, let's bring you in on the conversation with this. This Nintendo deal that was redacted, we have it on multiple authorities. Obviously, outside of Totillo, Jeff Grubb talked about this. Jason Schreier talked about this. Special Ed from the Xbox Era podcast talked about this. This is a big deal. We just don't know how big of a deal. I don't think it's as something as simple as Master Chief and Smash. I think that's a part of it. I think that the simplicity of Game Pass on the Switch, I think it's more than that. I don't know how much more, and obviously we're going to find out very soon from what I understand. But where do you fall? Is this a big win for Microsoft or Nintendo or gamers?
Definitely for gamers. And if it wasn't a win for Microsoft and Nintendo, it will never happen. So I think this is a win. The interesting thing was when I heard that for the first time, when I read that, two things came to my mind. The first thing was not that they are in talks. I think Microsoft talks to every manufacturer that has a device with a display and a Wi-Fi connection, maybe the smart refrigerator or whatever. They talk to everyone. So that is not what surprised me, that they approached Nintendo. They most certainly also approached already PlayStation and Sony, and not just for the PlayStation, but also for their TVs and whatnot. The talks are going on. This is not what surprised me. What surprised me is that Nintendo was so unhappy with that coming out. So that it must, or it gives me just a feeling that there is something to this. And then the second thing that came to my mind is how does a Game Pass on the Nintendo actually work? Because you mentioned xCloud. Well, the Wi-Fi connection right now on the Switch, really not that good. It only supports 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. That is not helping for xCloud. So I'm not sure if xCloud is the way to go on the Switch right now. But then on the other hand, you cannot make the games run natively on the Switch. Just not possible. We don't know about the Switch Pro. Maybe it will be available there. But then still, I doubt that the Switch Pro will be close or in the same ballpark as the current gen consoles. So eventually they will have to figure out how to make xCloud run on the Switch. And then the second thing is which games would be in there. This is also something I have been thinking about, because a ton of the games that are in Game Pass are also published on the Nintendo platform itself. So there would be a certain crossover, and I'm not sure if Nintendo would appreciate that. So I think we will get a different kind of Game Pass, kind of like we have now the Game Pass for console, and now we have the Game Pass for xCloud, and we have the Game Pass for PC. Those are all different versions, and there are different games in there.
Yes.
Of course, there are certain crossovers. And so I think that will be something we will see if it comes to the Nintendo Switch. That it's not the same like Game Pass than we have on the Xbox console, for instance, or on PC. There, and maybe not even the same games that are on xCloud right now. It will be different. Maybe it will be just the first-party games or the games that are not natively published on the Nintendo platform or something like that. But there will be different kind of versions with for Game Pass, just like we have it today, also on the Xbox console, PC, and the cloud. But I think to sum my thoughts up, the idea is definitely there. I think Nintendo would kind of benefit from that in the sense of that they, as you mentioned, Joe, earlier, they don't have the best internet structure. The Nintendo Online is kind of like an afterthought. And I have been saying that for a while, that I kind of wonder why Microsoft and Nintendo are not partnering on the online infrastructure. Why isn't Nintendo using Xbox Live or the technology behind Xbox Live for their online service? And so I could see that kind of happening together, that they merge their online services and bring a Game Pass Lite or a different kind of Game Pass with a different kind of content to the system. This is what I was thinking when I heard all those things. But let's see. It looks like an announcement to that is closer than we think, if we trust the rumors. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Me too. And VJ, close out this particular. I'm not VJ. I'm sorry. 3-Bit, close out this particular topic. What kind of an announcement are you expecting? Knowing the industry behind the scenes, a Nintendo partnership with Microsoft is a big deal. And to VJ's point, where he opened up this particular topic, it's a big deal because Nintendo normally doesn't do things like this, right? So where do you fall on this redacted? Ton of documents that were redacted.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think Nintendo really needs a better online system. A lot of the technology they're using is pretty outdated, right? A lot of people know that, and it's about 20 years old, and it actually uses Windows 98. They built in 2002, I believe, is the servers they're still using, and I actually think that could be a problem security-wise if they opened up their servers right now with more features similar to PlayStation or an Xbox. In terms of Nintendo, like slapping their name on something, they've actually done it with their current online service. And originally, the technology it was created by a company called Quazzle or something like that, and then it was titled to be named Rendezvous, and then Ubisoft bought them out. So now the Nintendo is licensing the technology from Ubisoft for these servers, and then they renamed it and slapped their name on it and called it Nex internally. So, but it's about 20 years old in terms of the technology. So if I was Nintendo, I'd want to be updating that, and who best to use than Microsoft, who licenses out the Azure technology. Now, I know Nintendo doesn't really work with a lot of people, but that is one case in where, in terms of their online service, where they really didn't want to deal with that, they're currently licensing their current technology to Ubisoft. Now, I've heard reports that Nintendo is replacing its multiplayer like server system, which is NEX right now, with a new system, and that is called NPLN. And the first game to use that technology right now is Monster Hunter Rise, and then I'm sure it'll roll out to other Nintendo online titles. And in terms of like xCloud on the Switch, potentially being a thing, I think that is probably going to be the test, the testing ground. If these documents, if it's actually happening right now, NPLN is a brand new thing they are using right now. And considering in Ubisoft's case where they kind of just renamed it, even though Ubisoft houses the technology and Nintendo's just licensing it, it could be that they are doing something similar with NPLN and Microsoft, and we'll find out this information during E3 this year. All this is just pretty much speculation. So, I mean, Nintendo has done things in the past with other studios, but it seems like their brand is very important. It's a very important thing, being able to slap their name on it, despite it being someone else's IP, slap their name on it and you can call it a day. But a partnership with Microsoft, any partnership comes with negotiation, and with negotiation, there is a give and take. And in the contract, you give your letter of intent, and with that, it's not always monetary, because value isn't always money.
Yep.
But sometimes it's lending your intellectual property, like something in Smash Bros, right? Or something in which in itself holds value. So putting Game Pass on the Switch makes the most sense to me in terms of what could be in those contracts. Perhaps Nintendo, when they decide to create a Switch Pro, with that purchase, you can possibly get Game Pass on that console as an xCloud type app on the console, right? Where you can download the app on the Switch Pro. That would be kind of cool. That would definitely be the move. In terms of exchange and what Microsoft would get out of it, Xbox would probably get the Nintendo player base, and Nintendo would get better servers. But as of right now, it seems like they are upgrading their servers to some extent, and they're trying it out with that game Monster Hunter. I don't know whether or not that will coincide with what Microsoft and them are doing in the background. Like maybe they're just getting prepared for that potential server update. But there is already some evidence, at least right now, that you guys can look up, where they are attempting to update those really old servers. So yeah. And I see Interloper said they're not using Windows 98. They are in some capacity are using Windows 98. I don't know. Like they have done some updates to it, but it is based on Windows 98. You could actually look that up.
Yeah. Well, listen, obviously, you know what you're talking about, and that's why we have you on this show. Listen, folks, we are potentially going to go into a little bit of overtime because one of the bigger topics on the back end that were taken up by the, sometimes news breaks and you got to talk about it. And of course, I was talking about the Starfield news that we opened up the show with. E3 2021 expectations. Now, again, it's a big topic, but it's something that we're going to come back to at least one or two more times on different shows, potentially on the Xbox Factor podcast, once again, to get a more detailed, time with this particular topic. But Joe, I want to start with you. again, we're closing on the 2-hour mark. We have 15 minutes. We're an hour and 45 in. I want to grab your opinion just in case you have to step to the side. What are your current expectations for Microsoft's E3? Which, by the way, we have no idea what they're bringing to the table outside of Halo, because Halo is going to be a big spot for them. We thought it was going to be Starfield. Now we don't know, right? We could get some big surprises. Where do you fall? I mean, do you have doubts? Are you excited? Are you tempering expectations? Where do you sit with this?
Yeah, good question. And after this, I got a hard oot. But so I love you guys so much, so much. But where are my expectations as of May 20th? My expectations for Microsoft's E3 are tempered. Again, I can't stress this enough. We oftentimes put the cart before the dang horse when talking about E3. I think we've kind of gotten so out of hand with the hype culture that is video games that it's insatiable and nothing's good anymore. Nothing's good anymore. Just think about it. What's the last good Direct? What's the last good State of Play? What's the last good Microsoft thing, right? Everybody's become a little jaded about what to expect. And maybe that's on the company's fault, these companies' fault for not putting, accurate expectations out there. But to me, I'm walking into this E3 just expecting to see what next gen is about. This year, I think we've gotten a good, a good idea, a good framework, what we think may be the future of what this gen is all about. But I want a clear now vision of not just visuals, but load times and all that. So for me, that's what I'm expecting out of E3. I have no expectations. The one thing that I would not want Microsoft to do is for them to promise a world and kind of do what Sony did with 2016 or 17, where, they show us the same games, they're 3-4 years out and rinse repeat. I would like to see games that are near future this year, like a Halo, mid future that would be like a Starfield, and then a future which would be like a Fable, right? Show me that. Show me your roadmap for the future that is Microsoft. But my expectations are incredibly level. I'm not like, oh my God, it's coming. I'm more like this. I'm here. I'm excited. It's kind of like when people talk to me about Starfield. I'm like, this is the level I have because I don't know. I only got a logo, and right now all I got is an announcement that they'll be there. We don't even know at what capacity, because they also say they're going to be at Summer Game Fest, and Summer Game Fest has a pre-show thing that they're doing. Is Microsoft going to be there? What are they sparsing out? What will be there that was already shown? Like all those questions to me, PR wise, could lead to a bit of a disaster in that case because too many things happening in the summer. But like, that's what I'm thinking. It's a show that I'm going to see games that I'm going to get excited for. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, no, that's great stuff, Joe. And listen, obviously, we'll get you on out of here to check out the trophy room each and every week with his best friend Kyle. Yes. Obviously, Joe, we'll get you back here next week. And
I love you all so much.
Love you too, Joe. Enjoy the rest of your day, brother.
You too. Enjoy your 4-day weekend, Boom.
Thank you. Yeah, we certainly are. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. Archimedes, let's get you did a video which was absolutely fantastic. I want you to elaborate on that video live on the air. Where do you fall for expectations? Because listen, for me, my glass is always half full, right? It's always half full. And yes, do I set myself up for disappointment? Yes, sometimes. But I think that there's something special coming at this E3. And I'm going to tell you why I believe it's going to be a big deal. Microsoft is celebrating a 20th anniversary for both the console, for Xbox as a whole, and more importantly, Master Chief and the Halo franchise. So I think that anything short of a AAA level E3 would be the biggest atrocity of justice, in my opinion. Where do you think, and how big is E3 for Microsoft this year?
Okay, where do I start here? I have a lot to say on that. I did, like you said, I did a video. What we should expect or can expect at E3 from Microsoft. I did that, uploaded it last week, and yeah, the thing is that video is kind of a video, and I say that in the beginning, what I think they should do. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen. So I'm always super excited for these kind of shows, and to be honest, I know it's smart to temper expectations and then better be surprised at everything. But I want that hype. I want to be excited. I want to sit in front of the TV and can't wait till the show starts. And then I want to. This is just what I'm looking for with these kind of E3 shows that we had in the past. I didn't get that excitement last year, so I'm really hoping that I can get that kind of excitement back this year. What worries me a little bit, I have to be honest here, is that it is in about 3 weeks, and we know nothing about E3. We don't know the date of the press conference. We don't know, not just for Microsoft. The only thing we know is Ubisoft. The rest we don't know. We get the Jeff Keighley event like 2 days before E3 starts. And E3 doesn't announce anything. What is going on? This is a kind of a thing that I'm a little bit confused right now, because you, as a content creator, don't know the problem. You kind of have to make plans. Yeah, you want to do post shows. You don't want to cover content. You have to arrange your appointments, being on that podcast, being on that show. And this is just us, the little guys. Imagine what kind of trouble the big media outlets are in. They have to organize a lot more interviews and whatnot. And for us not knowing anything about E3 is something I'm getting a little bit nervous about. I was wondering, after the statement from Jeff Keighley yesterday, could it be just a kind of a stream event where we get interviews and kind of like the Twitch thing? Maybe not as bad as that show, but it's just the spirit. I don't know. I hope not. I hope not. But Jeff Keighley yesterday said the publishers actually want to be a little bit more distributed and not all in 3 days to have their shows, because then they get a better spotlight. That is what he explained yesterday. And then he announces his event 2 days before E3 starts. So it's kind of confusing to me at this point. What is it actually going to be? What I want is that we get a proper show, not these kind of stream shows that we had last year where they lasted like 30 minutes, like 60 minutes. I want 90 minutes to a 2-hour show, just like an actual press conference in front of an audience. I want that. And then I want just what Joe said. Microsoft needs to lay out their roadmap, and you don't lay out a roadmap by just announcing stuff. You have to kind of give gamers a little bit more. We need definitely gameplay, and we need release targets.
Yeah.
I've said it many times. PlayStation hasn't announced a ton of games for their generation. Yeah, it's way less than Microsoft. Like a third of the games that Microsoft has announced are announced by Sony. But for all of them, we have a release target. Whether they may be kept or not, I don't think God of War will be 2021. But
to be honest with you, I don't even know if we're going to get Horizon in 2021.
Yeah. Could be, but that's the release target. And then we can talk about delays and everything. Starfield, like I said in the beginning, isn't a delay because we haven't gotten any announcements yet. Yeah? So that is what I want. I want kind of a release target. I want at the end of a 5-minute gameplay trailer for Fable, I want to say target 2022 or 2023 or whatever. Hellblade gameplay trailer. And so on. Microsoft needs to show and they need to do that a little bit more than Sony, because Sony has a better track record in releasing games. Sony has been a powerhouse when it comes to releasing games. They have like 3-4 major releases every year. People trust a little bit more in them to deliver. While on the Microsoft side, they have to prove a little bit more, simply because of their previous years and the first party content over the last years. So they need to show actual gameplay. And I've said that and explained that in my video as well. I always hear the argument, yeah, but the games are not ready and they are early in production. And yeah, there are some games early in production, but other games are actually quite a long time in production.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fable,
Everwild.
Everwild.
Everwild's been
Avowed.
worked on for 6 years, from what we understand.
Yeah. Fable, we got the first rumor in January 2017. So now we are at the end of May. Yeah, that means Fable is right now more than 4 years in development, 4.5 years at least in development. So after 4.5 years, you kind of should be at a point where you at least have something to show. Yeah. And the same goes, like you said, for Everwild. And we could also argue about Hellblade and a lot of other games. And Avowed was the reason why Microsoft purchased Obsidian in 2018. So in 2018, they had to have a prototype that they can pitch to Microsoft. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to judge that. Yeah. So Avowed must have been in development since beginning of 2018, if not 2017. So here also we are at 3-4 years in the development cycle, and at that point you kind of have to have something to show. Yeah. And Microsoft needs to be a little bit more how do you say that in English, a little bit more aggressive there by actually showing gameplay, because that's what people want. Yeah. And is that going to happen? I am not 100% sure, because last year, Microsoft, after the May event, said they heard the feedback. We hear you. You want gameplay. We hear your feedback. And then they had the July event, and they didn't show gameplay for any of the games outside of Halo. So, yeah, I am not sure. It feels like Microsoft struggles with those kind of gameplay demonstrations, but I really, really hope that this is what they are doing. And then they don't need to announce a ton of new games, because they have so many games that we know nothing about. So just show me a little bit of gameplay for Fable, for Hellblade, and then of course the games that are coming out in the next, let's say, 12 months. Yeah, that means of course Halo, Forza Horizon, Starfield, even if it comes in in spring 2022. Yeah, no problem. Show us a little bit of gameplay for the games that are coming in the next 10 to 12 months. And that's what I hope they do. And they take their time with the show. Yeah, not make it as an hour-long show, because then you always have to make sacrifices. And if you take up like 10-15 minutes for Halo out of a 60-minute show, there's really not much left for the other games. So yeah, make it a 90-minute show at least. 90 to 1 and 2 hours show. Give the developers the chance to show gameplay, narrate the gameplay a little bit, explain that this is an early build and that they are working on stuff and so on. But give us something with, a little bit more juice.
No, I absolutely agree with you there, and I think we're going to get it. I don't think that we are going to get it. VJ, let's get your opinion on it. Where do you fall with expectations? High, low, or somewhere in the middle for Microsoft's 2021 E3?
Good question, Boom. Thanks. I have to say, listening to the sort of how can I put it, respectful and even holistic views, right, of Mr. Badbit and Archimedes, it's for something that I'm really excited for. It's the narrative's kind of left me with mixed feelings. So I'll do my best to sort of marshal my thoughts as best as possible and encapsulate what they've been trying to say. So, actually, what they've actually said very well. Actually, to be quite honest with you, look, at the end of the day, we all look forward to E3. We all want an array of sort of consistently good, if not great content. Whether we read books, watch television, stream music, or video, or play games, or anything that pangs your twang for that matter. So, my hope, Boom, is that this E3, Phil and Xbox will share some sort of a glimpse or even a profound roadmap of forthcoming first-party games that are on the horizon. I think that Xbox are still finding their feet with their recently acquired studios, and I include the ones at 2018, because rumors and speculation they don't correlate or couple with actual progression of game development, right? So I have to say that, and perhaps 3-Bit can back me up or knock me down on that, whichever way he prefers. So some of the acquired studios we know already, Boom, are fantastic. So as I said, the narrative of Xbox has no games is so old and irrelevant. It's funny, and and these are the studios that, at the very least, I think, in terms of what Archimedes is saying, is that these are the ones that are experienced. These are the ones that have been around the block. These are the ones that have delivered big games in the past, and they are the ones that should and could and actually have to be presented as the spine of what Xbox is all about in the first few years of this gen, and they have to be showcased at E3 to some degree, right? So you would have to sort of, even if you're hazarding a guess, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that some of the studios might have made some headway in their respective sort of development endeavors, and I dare say some are perhaps ready to dazzle us. And that's what I want to lean towards. That's what I want to believe. And that's why I really like what you said, Boom. My cup is always half full. At the same time, Boom, what I don't want to see is more sort of, how can I call them, internal concept trailers. Perfect Dark, Everwild, and even to some degree Hellblade and Project Mara come to mind, right? And being paraded as super content in development with super high production values per square inch, showcased as future promise. It's not my phrase, by the way. It's something that I heard some gentleman called Colin Moriarty say. So yeah. we all want, at the end of the day, Boom, we all want our imaginations inspired, filled with happiness, and overall come away with an uplifting experience and outlook that words can't convey, right? No matter how linguistic you think I am, right? It's impossible to convey a personal, heartfelt emotion, right? When it really inspires you. And you can normally see that glee and that vibrancy in someone's face, right? And that's why the physical attendance of E3 is so missed so much, right? Seeing people's genuine reactions, not the paid ones that are at the front seats of some of the Sony escapades that I've seen in the past. Anyway, I'm not all concerned, and this is what I will say, I'm not concerned with a long show. I'm not interested in quantity this time around. I'm only interested in quality and imaginative works. It doesn't even matter if every single game revealed isn't for me. I want to see that Xbox has come of age and they show me that the management has learned and evolved and the right people are in place to deliver a golden generation of exclusives or non-exclusive content for Xbox and Game Pass. Whatever's applicable, whatever Phil's plan is, that's totally up to him. We've put him in a position to make those decisions on our behalf. As I said, all we can do is respect that. My hope is that that they show content that, as I said earlier on in the show, that isn't just good enough to show, because we've been down that road last year, and it really was a little bit heartbreaking, no matter how you want to sort of like cover it up, right? And that's why I think that this time around it's got to be, is this good enough to show? Is it the best it can be, I should say, right? So show me that Phil and Xbox have learned and you've progressed and you've done that, and you do that, I should say, is that by blowing the competition away. And I've said this before in previous podcasts, especially with the internally conceived, original content, which we know, right? Pretty much everything they're working on is original, right? So people may say, you're sort of being a little bit pessimistic or constructively pessimistic or whatever. But, I think that what this particular show does is just brings a very measured opinion, right? Because we all want it to be great, and for me, my hopes are high, but also at the same time, Boom, they're sort of ponderously anchored, right? At the same time, it's a really strange feeling to have. But look, as I say, Boom, I'd like to come away from E3 totally floored and astonished. All I can do is outline and respectfully suggest what Xbox might, should, could do. My opinion doesn't matter at the end of the day. And again, Boom, if Xbox are not ready, then just come out and say so rather than disappoint. Be transparent. This community, from whether you like it or dislike it, whatever your feelings are toward it, is very supportive and understanding, unless you take us for fools. And I think that is what is at the cusp of what everybody's kind of thinking and trying to sort of evoke, right? And without sounding too pessimistic, right? But yeah, I kind of hope that I've got across what I think encapsulates everybody's sort of thought process.
No, I think you did a good job as always. I listen. We don't know what's going to happen. We'll know in 3 weeks, but I think it's going to be big. 3-bit. Let's get your final opinion on today's incredible show, which we got to 5 topics, which is pretty freaking epic. Listen, when you look at what they have coming in the pipeline, there's quite a bit that we know. It's quite a bit we don't know. But I think that this E3 has to be, at least in my opinion, special because of the 20th anniversary of the box, because of the platform celebrating 20 years in the gaming space. That is no easy task when you go up against people like Nintendo and Sony, who have been here for a while. I think that they absolutely have to knock it out of the park. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to get a May 2020 and people are going to walk away with their hands between their heads and they're upset. I think they are going to bring us some stuff. How big? Where do your expectations fall?
I don't really want to temper my expectations. I think
I agree with you right there. Yeah, I say shoot for the moon, and if you miss, oh well.
Yeah, I'm ready to be disappointed if that's the case. I just think E3 is just like a mini Christmas for me. And I think after all the shows that we've had in 2020, I always have preferred this one big event where all the developers in one place rather than news here, news there throughout the year. I just always preferred that. Now, I do know a few games internally that people aren't talking about that will be at E3 that I'm excited for. But on the Xbox side of things, I have no clue what's going to be there. And I'm hoping we can get some Halo gameplay, which is pretty much all but confirmed at this point. That Halo will have some sort of presence there. I'm pretty sure they're going to show some multiplayer, some story, some more story gameplay, show off those new graphics that they've been working on. I think a wild card would be seeing something like a Hellblade. I think Ninja Theory put themselves in a situation on where that is becoming a big showcase title for Microsoft. So I believe they will probably increase the development time to make sure gameplay matches the visuals that we saw at the Game Awards. It's likely we'll see something like a Grounded trailer, Sea of Thieves season update, and a Starfield reveal trailer, as well as the we know that Bethesda is now going to be on the stage with Microsoft in tandem. So there's definitely some games that they have not announced over there at ZeniMax. So that's going to be very cool to see on the Xbox stage. And when you pair it up with a Halo, with a Starfield, and then some games we don't know about. So that's where my expectations goes up, seeing Halo and also those unannounced games. But then I'm also really excited to see a game like Crossfire X, or maybe an update on Scorn, which is a disgusting, awesome game.
Yeah, that looks great. Very alien inspired as well. Yeah.
Yeah, or Forza is coming out. So there's a certain games I like when people talk about tempering my expectations. My expectations are pretty high for these titles, like a Crossfire, like a Halo Infinite. I'm really looking forward to, or even just seeing something from Starfield that we have.
What about the game that's coming from Arcane Studios? It's supposed to release early in 2022 from their Austin, a new IP. That's supposed to be, we've heard rumors that might be shown as well. We may get a Wolfenstein 3 showing and a release date. I think Archimedes is onto something. Wolfenstein 3 is close, man. I mean, like really close.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think it's been 3-4 year development. Or something like that.
4 years. 4 years. And usually Bethesda used to have their own E3 event. So they cannot have just one game like Starfield. Yeah, they to have your own E3 event, you have to have like 2-3 bigger games, and they usually had that. And what else could be in that range? It's definitely Wolfenstein, and maybe like Boom said that game Omen, I think.
Omen from Arcane. Yeah, it's supposed to be about vampires. Yeah.
If I was them, like that's a great point. Like Bethesda was its own E3. It had its own presentation. So now they have that, and plus all the other studios that are working on stuff. I know if I was ID Tech, I would be probably working on a Quake or some sort of thing with Doom. Who knows? They just finished up the DLC. So there's definitely power in Sony's approach in being the last one to go, as that is the freshest in people's minds in terms of Sony going afterwards. But I think Microsoft is taking into account of all the successful shows they've done this year, all the ones that weren't so successful, learning from them, taking people's expectations and trying to exceed them where they can. And there's a lot that we probably don't know that's going to be at E3. We can make our educated guesses, but either way, I'm really excited. I'm not going to temper them. I think it's going to be great.
I agree. I think it is going to be great, and I honestly can't wait. Again, folks. This was a prelude to what we're going to be talking about. This particular topic, once we get some more information, is something we're going to talk up to. We're going to have a prediction show. We're going to have a post show. So don't get bummed out if you think this is the only time we're going to be talking about E3, and more specifically Microsoft's E3. We will be revisiting this in a much proper and more fulfilled conversation. But again, we don't really have a lot to go on, so we're just going with right now what expectations. But again, folks, this has been a tremendous show. We had over 400 people here, which is a big deal for a small channel like this. If you are new, of course, I want to advise that you subscribe to the channel because this is the kind of content you get weekly. We don't do console war shenanigans here. We do passionate panels with people that enjoy gaming, and the next couple of weeks going to be super, super busy, and I'm going to have you covered in a way that is going to be on an epic level. So, folks, I want to thank you again. If you missed the announcement on Tuesday regarding what's going on with Super Chat, Super Stickers, and channel membership, that is going to be coming back in a big way. The first week of June is when we tentatively have set it up. Some changes on the back end had to be made that required us to put things on a pause. Mrs. Boomstick has taken a permanent position at Double Barrel Gaming. She is going to be helping me with the channel. She's not going to be on the podcast, unfortunately. That's not her station, but she's going to be a part of the channel in a big way, and she's going to be handling all of the administrative aspects that I sometimes have trouble keeping up with because I do the 4 live shows. And because she's an artist, she's also going to be helping out with some of the thumbnails and potentially even doing rewrites to the scripts, especially when they're going to be, heavily scripted. She's good at that as well. So yeah, she's taken a much more permanent position here, and I'm very excited because it's something I always wanted to do. And those super chats and the ability to support Double Barrel Gaming will be reinstated. Again, we're tentatively looking the first week of June. Hopefully by June 1st, we can launch that with no issues. And of course, I want to thank everyone's concern. Everyone's reached out to me through DM and that want to continue to support this channel financially. It's tremendously, my gratitude for that is just beyond words. And obviously, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. If you're here, man, hit that damn like button because of the like button, because of the support that I got, this channel is getting noticed, and we are investigating potentially some partnerships that have been presented to us by some smaller companies. We don't know if we're going to go with them or not, but again, it's something that we are investigating, and it's because of the support from this community that this channel is being noticed and getting noticed for positivity and being community first. And that's what I wanted to do. That was my goal when I made this channel. So let's get to the outros, and we'll start with Archimedes. Archimedes, you've been doing some great work on your channel. It's great that you're back making content. Tell everyone about your YouTube channel, and more importantly, where could people strike up a conversation on social media?
Yeah, first, thanks again for having me on the show. It's always a highlight of my week to be here with you guys and the entire panel, and of course the amazing chat to talk gaming. This is just a highlight of my week that I'm always looking forward to, and I'm really glad to be back on the podcast. So thanks again for having me. Yeah, people can find me basically everywhere at Boxenberger. not Box a Bear. It's actually Box and Burger.
Box and Bear is coming. That's a name change, formerly known as Box and Burger.
I do have a small but growing YouTube channel where I put up like 1 or 2 videos per week where I discuss certain topics of the gaming industry. I uploaded this week a video just 2 days ago about the game engines that are used from the Xbox game studios. Discuss a little bit their strengths and weaknesses and which studios are using which engines for which games. So if you're interested in that kind of content, definitely check my channel out. And yeah, thanks again for having me on the show. I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, well, looking forward to that, brother. And it's great to have you back. And more importantly, healthy. VJ, tell everyone what you got going on. And more importantly, where can people strike up a conversation on social media?
I just want to say, Boom, today's episode has been absolutely wonderful, if not fantastic, and it's been really great to be on with you and the panel and the gaming community in the chat. One thing I did want to just sort of talk about was tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time, I'll be joining the Indie Gamer, one of the community's most genuine and finest, I might add. It's for a very special sort of E3 preview show, along with Assassin, Looper, Puxley, and Jardzilla.
Nice.
Indy's Silk Song interview has already reached an astronomical 43,000 views, and he's getting so close to 2,000 subscribers. So if you can spare the time and want to sort of be positively energized prior to E3, God almighty, I'm contradicting myself, then please lend Indy your support, as it will be a fantastic show. And thank you,
He deserves the success. He's an incredible human being for sure.
Yep. And I just want to say thank you, Boom, and I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Well, thanks for being here. And 3-Bit, you got a lot going on, brother, besides what you can't talk about. But let's talk about what you can. Where could people find you on other shows? And more importantly, what you got going on, brother?
So, yeah, I got some really interesting projects going on. With Xbox Ultimate, first off, I got to get Mav back. So I've been working on an animation video just for he made a video about me falling off of a pony, and so I got to get him back for that one. But thanks so much to Boom and to the awesome panel. Getting to talk gaming with you guys is always fantastic. It's always a pleasure talking with you, Archimedes and Bad Bit, and bouncing off of VJ's analysis is always a really great time. So you guys could find me on Xbox Ultimate every Friday, where I'll be getting my payback probably next Friday. So that we'll see. And I'm on Fun Pop tonight, where we discuss comic books and pop culture, and also Noobs and Pros with Lady Wolf and Arsonist. So that's pretty much where you guys can find me. I don't know if I said my Twitter, the VGHD, and YouTube is the Video Games HD. So I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Well, thanks so much for being here, brother. Definitely appreciate that. And of course, everyone in the chat, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And I think now, more than ever, it's super important. He said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.